you ever stopped to think how millions of people find themselves trapped in modern day slavery? From the clothes that you wear to the chocolates that you eat, it's built upon the harsh reality of slavery. Modern slavery is a hidden horror affecting millions worldwide. Every day, countless people are tricked, forced, or manipulated into exploitative conditions that they can't escape. And did you know that you're part of it as well? Yep, that's the truth. We unknowingly support this system by purchasing products or using services created under these cruel circumstances. You may think that slavery is a relic of the past, a dark chapter in history books, but the truth is shocking. Millions of people are trapped in modern slavery right now. It's a problem hiding in plain sight in every corner of the world, including your own backyard. Being locked behind bars, forced to work without pay, with no way to escape, is the reality for millions of people. People like Laboni from Nepal, whose words echo the despair of countless others. We were only there to work, it felt like I was in jail. Modern slavery isn't about chains and shackles, it's about control, exploitation, and stolen freedom. People are tricked, threatened, or forced into situations where they're treated as property, not humans. They might be making your clothes, serving your food, or working as domestic helpers. These are ordinary people with extraordinary bad luck. They were just trying to escape poverty to build a better life for their families, but now they're trapped in a nightmare. The numbers are staggering. Almost 50 million people are living in modern slavery, from forced labour to forced marriage. Children are especially vulnerable, with millions trapped in this horrific cycle. To understand how serious this situation is, let us break down what modern slavery means. Modern slavery is a hidden crime that affects every country worldwide. It exists in many industries such as garment manufacturing, mining and agriculture, and can be found in various settings from private homes to refugee camps. Modern slavery impacts all of us, affecting the food we eat and the goods that we buy. This is why it's everyone's responsibility to address and eliminate this crime wherever it occurs. Modern slavery comes in various forms. It includes forced labour, debt bondage, forced marriage, slavery-like practices and human trafficking. Although it's not a specific legal term, it highlights the common elements of these exploitative practices. Now, let's look at some statistics. The Global Slavery Index by Walk Free highlights the issue of slavery by giving estimates for 160 countries. This data comes from thousands of interviews with survivors in 75 countries, and looks at each country's risk of slavery. What are the causes of modern slavery? Since slavery was officially abolished, it's no longer about owning people legally, but about controlling them illegally. There have been two big changes. People aren't bought and sold directly for labour anymore, and slavery isn't a job category. While the numbers show that exploitative labour is on the rise, the old idea of buying and selling people like properties outdated. Instead, people now fall into slavery-like situations in different ways. There's one key reason that brings a man to modern slavery: it's poverty. In countries with poor education and weak laws, the lack of structure can make slavery more likely to happen. It's most common in poor countries and among vulnerable minority groups, but it also exists in richer nations. Many people work in harsh conditions in industries like mining, farming and factories, making goods for both locals to use and export to wealthier countries as well. In the past, owning slaves was costly and slave owners would invest in keeping them healthy rather than replacing them. Today, people are easier to exploit at a much lower cost, making it simpler for exploiters to replace them if needed. Modern slaves are often used for tough, hidden jobs and are less likely to be employed in better conditions. Do you know which countries of the world have the highest number of slaves? The latest analysis reveals that the G20 nations, the world's richest countries, have the highest number of people living in modern slavery. According to the G20 scorecard, Saudi Arabia has the highest rate of modern slavery among these nations, with 21.3 people per 1,000 living in extreme exploitation, including forced labour, forced marriage and human trafficking. Turkey, Russia and India follow closely behind. India has 11 million people living as modern slaves, followed by China with 5.8 million, Pakistan with 2.3 million and North Korea with 2.6 million. These countries often have conflicts, forced labour by the state and weak governments, making them commonplace for modern slavery. On the other hand, countries with strong governments and active efforts against modern slavery have the fewest cases. 6 of the 10 countries with the most victims of modern slavery are G20 nations like India, China, Russia, Indonesia, Turkey and the United States. In 2021, it was estimated that 50 million people were trapped in modern slavery, an alarming increase of 10 million since 2016. What are the possible reasons for this rise in slavery? The high demand for fast fashion, which often exploits workers and lacks transparency, has made modern slavery worse. Also, the rise of new sustainable industries for renewable energy has led to more exploitation. For example, there's evidence that Uyghurs in China are being forced to work in the production of solar panels and other renewable technologies. Modern slavery includes different types of exploitation. Forced labour happens when people are made to work under threat or pressure. Forced or servile marriage involves people being married against their will and often being mistreated. Debt bondage means people work to pay off debts under unfair conditions. Forced commercial sexual exploitation is when people are pressured into sex work. Human trafficking involves moving people to exploit them for labour or sex. Slavery-like practices take away people's freedom to make their own choices for the benefit of others. Also, the sale and exploitation of children means minors are sold or used for labour or sex. This issue is most visible in global supply chains, where G20 countries import $468 million worth of products every year that are at risk of being made with forced labour. These products include electronics, clothes, palm oil, solar panels, and textiles. Australia-based Walk Free released a 172-page report estimating global slavery in 160 countries. The report shows that nearly 10 million more people are forced to work or marry now, largely due to multiple crises. These include complex armed conflicts, widespread environmental damage, attacks on democracy, a global rollback of women's rights, and the economic and social impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. These issues have disrupted education and employment, leading to more extreme poverty and unsafe migration, which increase the risk of all forms of modern slavery. Is your country doing anything to avenge modern slavery? By the end of 2021, the countries with the highest rates of modern slavery were North Korea, Eritrea, Mauritania, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. The report emphasised that forced labour happens everywhere in many industries and at every stage of the supply chain. It pointed out that fast fashion and seafood industries often hide forced labour, and the worst forms of child labour are used to farm cocoa beans for chocolate. While the United Kingdom, Australia, Netherlands, Portugal and the United States have strong government responses to combat slavery, the report said that these efforts are not enough. An analysis released as world leaders gathered in New Delhi for the G20 summit showed that modern slavery existed in every G20 country, and none were effectively addressing the problem. So what can we do? First, we need to open our eyes, understand that this is happening. Second, we need to demand change, support organisations fighting to end slavery, and most importantly, spread awareness. Talk about it with your friends, family and community. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel for interesting facts and more.